My journey began before you came. I didn't know part of the way you were to walk with me. I traveled unknowingly, seeking roads along the way, looking for that perfect life, an Eden where we could stay. Sometimes the way was unclear. We often journeyed in darkness, misguided by my ignorance and complicated by my innocence. I have taken you places you may never have been had destiny not chosen you to travel along with me. Your journey will take its own course, and as was meant to be, I will continue along my paths, guided by choices yet unknown to me. Take my hand and bid farewell, our paths to touch now and then. Each journey's day, I feel blessed. It was meant to be that part of the way you were to walk with me. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me again for this conversation that we are having today on Mother's Day. The opening segment that I did today was a poem called To My Children that I wrote to my children 20 years ago. We have had quite an adventure, my children and I together. I don't think our lives were exactly what I mapped out or what I thought it would be when they laid that first little baby in my arms 60 plus years ago. But 20 years ago, I wrote that to my children and tried to explain to them my feelings about what it is to be a mother and how much love we have in our hearts as mothers. And rereading that poem today, getting ready for this segment for Mother's Day, that poem brought even a deeper meaning for me, because now the window is not as wide open as it was 20 years ago or 22 years ago when I wrote that poem, and it's getting just a little bit smaller. So when I read that, I hope my children will understand the joy that I have had just being a part of their lives. And I am so sorry maybe that we didn't have a perfect life. It wasn't all sunshine and roses, and you had to be dragged along with me during those times. But I wanted them to know how much they all meant to me, each and every one. How do you feel? I mean, I know a lot of you maybe are mothers or grandmothers now. Some of you have chosen not to have children, but maybe you have pets that you love. And if you're like me, my pets are like my children. But we are all born with, I believe, a maternal instinct, whether it's nurturing friends around us, young people around us, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, children, pets. I do believe that as women, we do all have that maternal instinct. unless maybe it's been closed off somewhere, because I know I have had emails from a lot of you and comments from a lot of you saying, oh, my mother was awful. I had a terrible childhood. She wasn't nurturing. I couldn't wait to leave home. And she just was not a good mother, and I didn't have that loving atmosphere growing up. Well, it does happen, because that mother, that person somehow has brought baggage into her relationship with her children that maybe she experienced in childhood. So it's like a snowball, and it just gathers and gathers and gathers. So I think it's up to us, if we can, and you probably know this by now, to break the cycle. And if you are a young mother looking forward to motherhood, and you have had a childhood that was not so nice, break the cycle. Draw that nurturing feeling and the motherhood feeling that is in our DNA, and break the cycle, and don't repeat your childhood experiences. It breaks my heart when I read stories like that. Nobody's life is perfect. Nobody's mother's perfect. I think in a way sometimes my mother was a hovercraft, and she worried too much about me. And I've made so many mistakes as a mother. I didn't do it intentionally. But when I have conversations with my children now, they say, oh, Mother, why did you do this? And why did you do that? And quite honestly, nobody gives us a playbook. There's no place that we can go to say, okay, this is how you do it. I know Dr. Spock wrote a book years ago, but everybody's life is different. Everybody has different circumstances, and there was no playbook for any of us when we were raising our children at all. But I just think that letting them know you love them, giving them the discipline that they need, and giving them the tools that they need to go out in life and be on their own. I was once told that good mothering is not keeping your children in the nest, which I think maybe a lot of parents are doing today. They're keeping their kids in the nest too long. But good mothering is not keeping your children in the nest, but good mothering is giving them the tools so they can eventually spread their wings and fly away. And that gives us the empty nest syndrome. But I really think it is true. I know some people, say, oh, well, why don't you go and live where your children are? Well, I have a life, and I'm, believe it or not, I'm kind of a loner in a way, and I like to do things on my own, and I've always felt I wanted to be independent. But just spending the summers with my son and his family, and my daughter lives in Lexington, so she's not too far away, and my daughter, Brett, who is with me now, she comes. So there are about 3 or 4 months of the year that I'm very lucky that I can spend with my children. But I think most of us at our age understand how important it is to be in touch with your children, not to be on top of them and not to interfere with their lives, because heaven knows they have lives of their own. And even when I'm in Nashville, they are doing things sometimes, they go out and their activities and they're doing things. And I'm on my own to kind of do what I have to do, but that's okay with me, because that's the way I like it. But I always plan to stay here in South Beach and have my life here. and my children come and visit. But I know that for me, the decision to stay here is the right one. But I hope everyone today has a wonderful Mother's Day. And if you don't have children, just reach out to someone that you think might be lonely this weekend and give them a shout out and a message that you're thinking about them and that you care about them. Meet someone for lunch. Just reach out and extend yourself today. That's what the world needs. I mean, mother's love. If women ruled the world, I think this would be an entirely different world. I truly do. Even if you are not a mother with children, adult children, or grandchildren, you can celebrate today, and you can be celebrated today for who you are and for what you have brought to your work, to society, the nurturing and love that you bring to everyone in your circle. And that's what Mother's Day is all about. Celebrating us, celebrating the nurturing way that women are actually ruling the world and raising generations to come. Please be good to yourself, and let's pray for world peace. Thank you for being here, and I hope that you will join me for another conversation next week.